Hi, welcome to the bathtub. Well, when you hear this iconic this theme song or theme sound effect.
And now for the cultural part of our program, we bring you Bullwinkle's Corner.
It's and when we get most of our cultural stuff from, which is from old Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons. It's Cultural Corner. We call it. What do we call it? We call it Poetry Corner. It's called Poetry Corner here. This is the bathtub. The light's terrible today. We had a really nice Raphael glow coming in off the hills. It's really raining here. I think it's raining all over the world. From what I could read, the New York Times, and it's very dark. I wanted to remind you all. It's been a while since I've reminded you, but they've never left. This show is overseen by a group called AWCKMA. Amazon and the Washington Post can kiss my ass. This is a shadowy, nebulous organization that kind of came out of nowhere several years ago and approached me when I learned and did a long talk about the Washington Post and how they treat freelancers. This was 4 or 5 years ago, when Bezos was beginning to show his true self as an owner of companies, and I did a little piece about that. And AWCKMA contacted me, and they've been kind of keeping an eye on us. They showed up at my door the other day. To remind me to mention this. They were wearing a rainbow colored balaclavas and little propeller beanies because they knew that the balaclavas might be scary, so they put the beanies on. Anyway, this is a bathtub. This is a special bathtub t-shirt. You can't have it. It's only mine. And we do a little thing called Poetry Corner. I've done a few things here. I've actually experimenting with the sound. I actually looked into the settings on the computer because people say you have to turn the sound up really high to hear me, if that's what you want to do. And I'm hoping the sound is better. I can't promise anything. Our bathing buddy, Bob Black, not an easy thing to say, sent us some poetry a while back, and it kind of inspired me to do these poetry corners. We don't know anything about poetry at the bathtub. We don't know anything about anything here at the bathtub, but we do know we like poetry in the bathtub. And he sent me a couple books. We've talked about that. We did one of them already, the one that I keep mispronouncing, the Glick. Louise Glick? I always do it wrong. I think it's Glick. Anyway, every single time I mispronounce it, someone tells us, just look below. Every time you watch one of my stupid shows, look below and people will correct me on all the pronunciation. These are two. The one, I'm going to start with this one. It's called Don't Call Us Dead. It was a National Book Award finalist by Danez Smith. Kind of a cool looking book. It's published by Grey Wolf Press, one of the few good literary presses that are left in the world. And it's a guy named Danez Smith. I never heard of him, didn't know anything about him, as I don't know much about most things. And it just says he is the author of Homie and Insert Boy, winner of the Kate Tufts Discovery Award and the Lambda Literary Award. Anyway, I read this and I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed reading in the bathtub. It's quite I want to say it's dark because it's not dark. It's a political book. I would say there's a lot of political and social anger in it, which normally I don't really like in a book. I find I kind of like to get away from the world, as you know, when I read my books. But I could understand. It's kind of hard not to appreciate the anger in the book. He talks a lot about Black Lives Matter, and there's references to things like Emmett Till and some of those horrible killings that we've been witnessing often. They were coming through almost every week in the news. There's horrible things were happening to people. Anyway, I'm going to read a few passages. And that's all we really do in Poetry Corner, is just read your little poetry. And you can even turn off this stupid picture of this stupid guy with this dark, terrible lit video. Here we go. It's called It Won't Be a Bullet. Becoming a Little Moon. Bright, warm me in one night. Thank God. I can go quietly. The doctor will explain death, and I'll go practice. In the catalog of ways to kill a black boy, find me buried between the pages stuck together with red stick. Ironic. Predictable. Look at me. I'm not the kind of black man who dies on the news. I'm the kind who grows thinner and thinner and thinner until light outweighs us, and we become it. Family gathered around my barely body telling me to go toward myself. I love that poem. Just read a couple more really quick. I'm going to do two poets today. This is called, I'm just going to read the beginning of this one. It's called Every Day is a Funeral and a Miracle. The book Don't Call Us Dead it's a lot about death and what it means to people, being alive and dead sometimes. On the bad nights, I wake to my mother, shoveling dirt down my throat. I scream, "Mom, I'm alive. I'm alive." But it just sounds like dirt. If I try to get up, she brings the shovel down, saying, "I miss you so much, my sweetest boy." Really quite moving poems. I don't even know why poems move me, but that one does. And I thought this would be a good one to close on, just to tell you about this very interesting and enjoyable poet. This poem is titled, it's fairly long, I'm just going to read the beginning. It's called "You're Dead, America." I fed your body to the fish, traded it at lunch for milk. I know where they buried you because it's in my mouth. They tell me bootstraps, and I spit up a little leather. They tell me Christ, but you don't have black friends. I think I'll leave it there. Anyway, I think I like that whole poem. Is very good. Anyway, Danez Smith, we got to thank our bathing buddy Bob Black for these things. Please don't send me any more. I've got tons of poetry. Make me read. Get me back to talking about the poetry on the bathtub. And again, since I have nothing to say about poetry, I'm just going to read some of it. Okay. Another poet. This is a poet I do know really pretty well, I would say. I've certainly been reading him for many years. This is Mark Doty. I thought I had every Mark Doty book. I thought I had them all. I for some reason I didn't have my Alexandria, which is his first book and is one of the best poet books he ever wrote. It's a beautiful book. Anyway, I got to thank him for that. This comes out in 1992, and it won a prestigious award. It's got a lovely quote. I'm going to read it because he's a poet I always liked, Philip Levine. I think he was the judge on this poetry award that Doty won with his first book. And Philip Levine says, "The courage of this book is that it looks away from nothing. The miracle is that wherever it looks, it finds poetry. If it were mine to invent the poet to complete the century of Carlos Williams and Wallace Stevens, I would create Mark Doty, just as he is, a maker of big, risky, fearless poems, in which ordinary human experience becomes music." Philip Levine says that about the book. As you can see, in both the books, there's so many poems I wanted to pick and to read. I've got all of Doty's books, I think, until now that I have this one. The only one I haven't read is the memoir about dogs, which is called Dog Years. I reviewed, and it's in the bathtub book. I reviewed his really kind of excellent book about Whitman, What Is the Grass, which is a sort of memoir about his how he grew up learning to love Walt Whitman. It's a very personal book about a relationship with a poet, and I liked it a lot. I'll read a few passages. I don't remember which ones I picked here now. There's just so many cool ones. Where's the one with the jellyfish? I'm going to read this. Just read this one. I'm going to read just the first page of this poem. It's called Difference. The jellyfish float in the bay shallows like schools of clouds, a dozen identical. Is it right to call them creatures, these elaborate sacks of nothing? All they seem is shape and shifting, and though a whole troop of undulant cousins go about their business within a single wave's span, every one does something unlike. This one a balloon, opens on both ends, but swollen to its full expanse. This one a breathing heart, this a pulsing flower. Anyway, there's 3-page poem, but I'm just going to read passages from it. Is this the one? There's one about turtles I really liked. I'm just going to read again the opening. I'm going to read the first page of this one too. The poem is simply called No. The children have brought their wood turtle into the dining hall because they want us to feel the power they have when they hold a house in their own hands. Want us to feel alien lacquer and the little thrill that he might, like God, show his face. He's the color of ruined wallpaper, of cognac, and he's closed, pulled in as though he'll never come out. Nothing shows but the plummy leather of the legs, his claws resembling clusters of diminutive raspberries. They know he makes night any time he wants, so perhaps he feels at the center of everything, as they do. So, this is the lovely poem. I just love all these poems. He wrote, the one I remembered vividly was Atlantis, in which he writes a lot about losing friends to AIDS and the horrors of that period. Another horrible period in our country when we really weren't doing what we're supposed to be doing and taking care of people who live here. And this has several poems about that subject and friends. But I'm just going to read one last passage, just because it's about Chet Baker, who I actually wrote a movie script about. And this poem is called Almost Blue, and I'll just read the first few lines of it. It's to Chet Baker, 1929 to 1988. If Hart Crane played trumpet, he'd sound like you, your horn's dark city, miraculous and broken over and over, scale shimmered, every harbor-flung hour and salt span of cabled longing, every waterfront, the night's lover's rendezvous. This is the entrance to the city of you, sleep's hellgate, and 2 weeks before the casual relinquishment of your hold, light needling on the canal's gleaming haze, and the buds blaring like horns. 2 weeks before the end, Chet, and you're playing like anything. Chet Baker fell off a balcony. No one knows exactly what happened. He fell off a balcony in I want to say Belgium or Amsterdam. It's probably Amsterdam. I don't remember now. But he was a mess, and he was still playing some beautiful music. My Alexandria, anything by Mark Doty, Danez Smith, and we try to buy all our books. Let's not forget. Where are we done with this thing? We have another. So we don't have a whiteboard anymore, which is just as well, because we're post-tech. We're on a post-tech, and we try to buy our books at bookshop.org and betterworldbooks.com. As I understand it, Bookshop is now doing ebooks, which you can put on your Kindle or your book reader of choice. And Better World Books sells lots of secondhand books, so I buy a lot of stuff directly from them instead of eBay anymore. If you can do that, and you can think about telling AWCKMA that you're doing your job, and you're telling Washington Post and Amazon to kiss you or something. Okay, stay safe. We're going to be doing quite a few of these in the next few days, so I hope I don't want to inundate you, but got a lot of big plans in the bathtub, a lot of plans. So stay in the bathtub. You guys, everybody stay there for the next few years, and I'll tell you when it's safe to come out. Stay safe.